Have you ever felt a sudden chill when you put on a piece of clothing, as if something invisible were wrapping around you, with an energy strange, almost oppressive? Maybe you thought it was your imagination, but what if it wasn't? Imagine a woman common, devout, accustomed to attending Mass every Sunday. One day, she decides to wear an old shirt inherited from her brother deceased. That same night, dreams dark the lurk. Feel a presence in his room, something breathing near your head. In a confessional, as he relates his experience, the priest shudders. And he is not just any priest. He's the Padre Pio himself, who you says in a firm voice, "That garment has something on it that doesn't belong to you." These are not made-up stories. They are warnings real, registered by those who were close to the famous friar of the Stigmata. Padre Pio did not speak in vain. I saw what the others could not see. I felt in the spiritual world, which for the majority is invisible. During Holy Week, a time when the veil between the divine and the it gets dark finer, these warnings become even more urgent. The enemy doesn't always attack head-on. Sometimes it makes through the everyday, and according to Padre Pio, one of those paths is the clothes you choose to wear. It may seem exaggerated. A garment is just fabric, right? But for those who understand his spiritual language, every object is also a channel of energy, of intention, of history. Some clothes, they may be loaded with blessings, others with curses. And this is where it begins our research. This is not a simple video about fashion. This is a spiritual calling, because what you wear doesn't just cover your body. It also reveals the state of your soul. Come with me on this journey through hidden testimonies, revelations of the confessional, and teachings you won't find in common catechisms. What you'll hear could transform the way you dress forever. In the next few minutes, I'll show you as certain garments can open doors, spiritual forces that seek destroy you. You will know the 3 types of clothing that Padre Pio considered spiritually dangerous. You will discover a little-known ritual to purify your garments. And at the end, I will challenge you to a commitment of faith that will change your relationship with what you use every day. Because there are truths that are not said out loud, but which must be revealed. This is one of them. And you, are you ready to open the eyes and look at your closet with others' eyes? To understand the depth of the warnings of Padre Pio on the clothes, first, you have to understand who this man was. He wasn't a common priest. He was a spiritual warrior, a mystic with the stigmata of Christ bleeding on his hands, feet, and side, a confessor, tireless man who spent up to 16 hours a day listening to souls, and above all, a man with gifts supernatural that defied all logic. Padre Pio had what the church called discerning of spirits. He didn't just listen confessions. The eye lived. I felt sin in the air. I knew if anyone he lied before opening his mouth. He saw demons haunting certain people. And in many times, these presences did not come alone. They came attached to objects, especially to the clothes. One of his son's spiritual story, a shocking case. A young arrived at the confessional wearing a seemingly ordinary leather jacket. He had barely knelt down when Padre Pio looked with intensity, and he said, "Get out of the way, that jacket. It's not yours. Take it, the soul of whom they used before." The young man confessed that he had bought it at a second-hand store. That night, after burning it, he slept for the first time in weeks without feeling any presences in his room. Exaggeration, fanaticism, not for those who they know the weight of it invisible. In other occasion, a woman came with a dress that had belonging to his deceased mother tragically. Upon entering the church, felt a knot in chest. When he finally approached the confessional, Padre Pio asked bluntly, "Why you bring that with you, pain?" She broke in crying. "Nobody you there was said nothing. Nobody could know, but it I knew, because I felt these stories do not seek to cause fear, but rather awareness. Padre Pio taught that just as the water can be blessed, Objects too can be cursed, especially when we're part of lives marked by sin, violence, or the deep suffering, and the clothes, being so intimately connected with his body, absorbs more than we think. That's why he insisted in dressing with dignity, modesty, and respect. Not only because of social norms or religious, but because the way we dress speaks to the spiritual world. It attracts or repels, it blesses or contaminates. Imagine entering a church with a t-shirt adorned with skulls or symbols of death. Do you think that's just an aesthetic choice? For Padre Pio, it was a spiritual provocation, an invitation to the enemy, because the physical and the spiritual are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin. Reality. He warned his faithful about the need to purify not only the soul, but also what surrounds it, and many times that begin in his cupboard. Therefore, before continuing, I invite you to look at what you are wearing. Position now. What is that garment? History brings with him. What intention the accompanies? Is it a reflection of light or a shadow in disguise? In many cultures, inherit the clothing of a deceased loved one is a gesture of love, of memory, an attempt to keep their presence alive. But what occurs when that presence hasn't gone away? Padre Pio was blunt. Not every inheritance is a blessing. And among his many warnings, spiritual, one of the most disturbing was about the use of clothing belonging to deceased, not a matter of superstition nor of a rejection of memory. It is a matter of a spiritual reality ignored by the majority. The clothing stores energy, and when comes from someone who passed away in sin, in suffering, or without reconciliation with God, that garment can become in a channel of spiritual oppression. A shocking case was that of Lucia, a 42-year-old woman who, after the death of his mother, he began to wear her nightgown. The first days, everything seemed normal, but little by little his mood turned dark. Nightmares, crying without cause, a constant feeling of being watched. She went to the doctor. Nothing. She went to the psychologist. Nothing. Until, almost out of desperation, she went to the priest of her parish, who you asked a simple question: "Have you brought anything from your mother recently?" She mentioned the robe. The priest her due with holy water, and the cloth was stained with a black substance, without explanation. When he finally consulted with a friar close to Padre Pio, he said firmly, "What you carry is not just fabric, it is an incomplete farewell." And these testimonies are repeated with similar patterns. Clothing of the deceased that seems to change the atmosphere of a house, causing headaches unexplainable, or influence he whose behavior uses it. Especially dangerous, warned Padre Pio, is to wear clothes belonging to people who have died. After a life marked by hatred, envy, occult practices, or rejection of God, the soul can have left. But the energy left behind remains, and the garment becomes in a sort of inverted relic. Catholic theology recognizes that certain objects can be bearers of blessings, such as the holy water, the rosary, the relics of saints, but also admits the possibility of spiritually contaminated objects, and the clothing, for its physical closeness to body and soul, is especially susceptible. A young woman in San Giovanni Rotondo, he told how, after to put on a coat that belonged to his grandfather, a man alcoholic and aggressive, began to have outbursts of anger and repeat phrases he had never done before had pronounced. He went to the confessional, and without not even mention the history, Padre Pio, he said, "That coat is not yours, nor is that anger you carry inside." Sheer coincidence, clairvoyance, or simply the logic of the spiritual acting with total coherence? And this is where it stands, he elderly challenge. Many people maintain in their closets authentic museums of suffering, clothes of deceased relatives that have not been released, that have not been blessed, that retain not only the scent, but the spiritual burden of the person who the use. This does not mean that all clothes inherited is dangerous, but yes, must be purified. It must be given to God, It must be treated with respect and discernment. Why wear something that belonged to someone who didn't made peace with the eternal can be, without knowing it, opening a door that you cannot easily close. And have you ever worn a piece of clothing belonging to a deceased loved one? Have you ever felt strange when wearing it? Maybe has arrived the time to look at your closet with eyes new. Have you ever wondered what the symbols you wear really mean on your clothes? Do you think they're just decorations, without importance? For Padre Pio, each symbol had a weight, an intention, a spiritual direction. We live in a time where fashion has turned a subtle and sometimes blatant channel of hidden messages. T-shirts with skulls, jackets with zodiac signs, pants with dragons, blouses with the yin-yang symbol or the eye that everything go. What used to belong to the grimoires of occultism today is in the shop windows of shopping centers. But Padre Pio warned with clarity, symbols are not just art. They are doors. Doors that open without it, and through which presences enter that you cannot control. A young pilgrim, in the 1950s, he traveled to San Giovanni Rotondo to confess. He wore a T-shirt with an oriental symbol that he looked exotic and elegant. Upon entering the confessional, Padre Pio covered himself his face with pain. He asked him to leave. "I can't confess so," he said. "What you're wearing in the chest hurts more than you imagine." Embarrassed, young man left. Today next, he returned with another garment and could confess, at the end, the friar He explained that this symbol represented an ancient duality pagan incompatible with the faith Christian. It wasn't just design, it was an unconscious pact. And that is the danger, the trivialization of the spiritual. Many brands play with the esoteric, that they sell it as something cool, rebellious, alternative. But behind those decisions, there are real intentions to normalize contact with symbols of power other than God, to infiltrate the magical thinking, spiritual relativism, deceptive syncretism. The skulls, for example, are not just rock icons. In many cultures represent worship of the death, connection with the infernal. The zodiac signs are linked to astrological practices that the Church has condemned as incompatible with delivery to the divine providence. The Eye of Horus, the illuminated triangle, inverted pentagrams, are not innocent fashion. The enemy rarely acts directly. He prefers the subtle, the elegant, what enters without resistance. And fashion has become one of their favorite tools. Padre Pio insisted in which the Christians they had to dress with clarity of faith. It wasn't about aesthetic rigidity, but about spiritual purity. What covers your body must be consistent with what you want in your soul. And if your T-shirt screams darkness, don't expect the heaven hear you with clarity. A former Satanist converted to Catholicism revealed in an interview that many of the most used symbols in youth fashion had previously been consecrated in occult rituals. Dressing with they, he said, are like carrying a flag of surrender to the enemy without know it. Clothing, then, is not just style, it is a statement, it is language, and like all language, it has consequences. Therefore, before buying, before dressing, before choosing, Padre Pio invited us to ask ourselves, does this glorify God or does it glorify the world? And you, how many times you have worn something just because it was fashionable, without thinking about what it represented? Maybe it has arrived time to do a deeper review, not only of your closet, but of the symbols you have allowed into your life. Because the devil doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's printed on your T-shirt. In the holiest days of the calendar Christian, when he darling cries the passion of Christ and the earth revives its sacrifice, there is a question that many avoid. Ask yourself, how am I presenting myself before God? Padre Pio was not lenient with the vanity. In fact, considered one of the more effective tools of the enemy. And he wasn't just speaking from a moral perspective. He was speaking from his mystical experience. I saw, felt, and discerned what few could perceive, and among his most constant warnings was the use of provocative clothing, especially during Holy Week. Because in that time, because that's when the soul is more exposed, when the sky opens up, but also it does hell. And according to Friar of the Stigmata, the demon does not need large doors. A vanity crack is enough for him. A young woman, he confessed that during Holy Week he had assisted the trades dressed in a tight blouse and a very short skirt. She justified herself saying that it was his style, that he didn't want to be a hypocrite. As he approached the confessional, Padre Pio asked him to come back with more suitable clothing. You cannot seek the crucified one with clothes of seduction. He said, the enemy is waiting for your weakness. This does not mean to fall in extreme legalisms, nor in trials, superficial, but it does invite reflection. Why do we dress the way we do? To attract attention, or to elevate the soul? Sensual clothing that exposes more than it covers, has become normalized. It's seen as freedom, empowerment, personal expression, but spiritually, it can be an act of profound vulnerability. It not only exposes the body, exposes the intention, and where there is misdirected intention, there is fertile ground for temptation. Padre Pio taught that the body is temple of the Holy Spirit, and as such, it must be clothed with dignity, with reverence, especially in the holy days, not out of repression, but out of respect. Because when we dress provocatively, we not only distract others, we also weaken our own spiritual defense. During Holy Week, many people come to the church by tradition, by custom, or by remorse. But if there is no conversion also in the exterior, the message of the Christ sacrifice is lost in the superficiality. Padre Pio said, "It is not the dress that condemns, it is the intention behind it." But he warned that the intention, although hidden, leaves a trace in the soul. And this is not limited to the women, male neglect, exhibitionism disguised as comfort, the tight clothing as a symbol of ego, all that it also opens doors, because the problem is not the body. It is the use that is made of it. Imagine showing up at the altar with clothes that exalt wish, instead of the devotion. Imagine being in the row of the communion, while your clothing causes distraction or temptation in others. That, for Padre Pio, was an indirect way of cooperating with evil, not out of malice, but out of lack of conscience. But not everything is condemnation. There is also a call to the beauty, true, to the spiritual elegance, to dress like someone belongs to the sky. And that doesn't mean grey, dull, or lackluster. It means light, purity, coherence. Because when you choose to dress with respect, you are making a silent but powerful declaration: I am temple, I am soul, I am of God. Padre Pio not only warned about the dangers spiritual hidden in the clothing, it also offered a solution, a practical, simple, but charged with celestial power. A ritual that he taught his children spiritual to purify contaminated garments, freeing them from any influence dark, and turn them in a shield of divine protection. It was not a matter of superstition, but of an act of profound faith. Because for him, everything surrounding the soul must be surrendered to God, even what we carry. Position. The ritual begins with a past essential, the discernment. Not every garment needs to be purified. But if touching it you feel discomfort, sadness, heaviness, or if it comes from a source dubious, clothing inherited, bought in second-hand stores, used in times of sin or suffering, then it is a candidate for the rite. Once the garments have been identified, the process is carried out silently in an atmosphere of prayer. 1. Spiritual preparation. Before playing the clothes, says the Psalm 90, Psalm 91 in some versions, known as the Shield Psalm. A psalm used in exorcisms and deliverances, which proclaims, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will dwell under the shadow of the Almighty." 2. Holy water, Sprinkle each garment with holy water in the form of a cross. Do not leave none corner without cover. Padre Pio taught that the holy water spiritually burns any impure presence. It is like liquid light against the darkness. 3. Prayer of purification. While you bless the clothes, pronounce these words: Lord Jesus, by your precious blood, free this garment from all shadow, from all evil, from all hidden intentions. May your light cover her. May your peace dwell in her. May she only serve your glory. 4. Act of consecration. At the end, do the sign of the cross on yourself and on the clothes, and say, I consecrate this garment to the service of the well, so that whoever the view is protected by the angels of God. This ritual, although simple, it has profound effects. It not only changes the energy of the clothing, change your perception, transform something every day into something sacred, elevate the material to the spiritual plane. A testimony touching was that of a mother who performed this ritual on the clothes of your teenage son, who he suffered from insomnia, anger, and rebellion inexplicable. That night, the young slept peacefully for the first time in months. Tomorrow next, he said to his mother, Mom, I felt like someone hugged me while I was sleeping. The Church always has recognized the power of the sacramentals, blessed objects, prayers, gestures, to protect and consecrate. And Padre Pio, with his life of constant prayer, he knew that the darkness only retreats before the light, and that light can to channel also through what we wear. Don't underestimate what's out there in your closet. Don't ignore the clothes that make you uncomfortable. Purify them, consecrate them, and if necessary, get rid of them, because it's better to stay with little but blessed, than with a lot but contaminated. Are you ready to act? Because everything you've seen so far isn't just information. It's an invitation, an opportunity to change not just what you wear, position, but also what you allow into your life. Padre Pio was not a man of empty speeches. He was an action guide. And that's why this video doesn't end with words, but with a challenge, a spiritual commitment of 7 days, designed to protect you, cleanse you, and reconnect you with what really matters. This challenge is simple, yet powerful, and it's not about fashion or style, it's about faith. Day 1. The review from the closet. Open your closet with eyes new, not like someone looking for clothes, but like someone looking to clean his sanctuary. Examine each garment. Ask yourself, does this clothing bring me closer to God or further away? Did I inherit it from someone with pain? Does it have symbols I don't understand? Does it exalt the body more than soul? Don't be afraid to throw away what is not useful. Better a cupboard half-emptiness than a half-contaminated soul. Day 2. The purification ritual. Already you know the ritual. Today is the day to apply it. Choose the garments you will keep, but that need to be released. Use holy water, Psalm 90 and the prayer of consecration. Do it with faith. Remember, you're not spraying fabric, you're clearing doors. Day 3. Getting dressed with intention. Today, every garment you choose must have a spiritual purpose. Dress with modesty, with reverence, with sacred beauty. May each piece be a reflection of who you are, a child of light. Observe how you feel when you do this, how it changes your gaze, your attitude, your energy. Day 4, Rosary for protection. Pray the complete rosary, but not automatically. Meditate on each mystery. Offer it for your home, for your body, for your clothes. Let each bead be a shield. Padre Pio prayed up to 12 rosaries a day. Today, you can start with 1, but with the soul burning. Day 5, prayer in the closet. Yes, just like that you hear. Stand in front of your closet and pray. Ask the Holy Spirit to consecrate it. May no one spirit contrary to God dwells in what you wear, that every time you cover yourself with a garment, you are covering you with the divine grace. Day 6, vanity fast. Avoid for a day any garment or ornament that has as its sole purpose called the attention. Don't wear what makes you stand out, but what makes you invisible to the ego. This little sacrifice is a cleansing of the heart, an act of humility that weakens the enemy. Day 7. Inner renewal. Today, get dressed with your simplest and cleanest garment, go for a walk, pray, breathe, give thanks. And while you do this prayer. Lord, from today on, let what I wear on my body reflect the light I want for my soul. This challenge does not end here. It may be repeated, it can adapt, but its purpose is clear, to close the doors to evil and open windows to heaven. And if so you do with sincerity, you will feel the change in your body, in your home, in your spirit. Because sometimes a spiritual battle is won in front of the closet. We've reached the end, but this is not a closure. It is a new beginning. Because now you can't look at your clothes anymore with the themselves eyes. You can no longer ignore what Padre Pio taught with pain, with tears, with blood. During this journey, you discovered that some garments can be more than just fabric. They can carry memories, intentions, energies, that what you wear is not neutral. It can be an extension of your soul, or a crack through which it enters. The impure. You learned that the clothes inherited from the deceased can drag chains invisible, that occult symbols, although popular, are camouflaged doors, that the exaggerated sensuality does not empower, it weakens, that vanity does not adorn, it betrays, and above all you discovered that there is a path of cleansing, of protection, of light, that you can purify what you wear, that you can dress your body as a temple, that you can consecrate every seam, every button, every fiber, to the one who clothes you with grace. Padre Pio was not looking for scare, I was looking to wake up. And today, you have been awakened. You are no longer a spectator, you are a custodian, the custodian of your soul and everything around it. So now I ask you a question that only you can answer. You can answer. Will you continue to dress like that you did before, or you will start dressing like someone already has been saved? If this video touched something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. There are others who need hear this truth. Others who, perhaps without know it, they are fighting against shadows that are hidden in his own clothes. Comment below. Have you had any strange experiences with a garment? Have you felt something that now you understand better? Your story can enlighten others. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with upcoming content. Here talk later, what few dare to say. Here are revealed the truths that the world prefers keep hidden. Share this video with someone you love, who deserves protection, who perhaps, without know it, you are carrying something that you don't belongs. Because when you know the true, you can't go back now. And remember, it's not just about how you look on the outside, it's about how you dress for the eternity.